to another Wednesday night. We welcome all the people coming from a Bible study, going to a Bible study, or are in Bible study right now, listening and watching our show. I bring up Bible study because my wife, she has a desire for us to go to Bible study together, but I told her I can't because I'm contractually obligated by King Rashad to be here with you all tonight.
Oh God,
to entertain and inform you. So King Rashad is my God. So,
oh boy.
With that being said, welcome to another edition of the Roundtable. I'm Kendrick. That's Jared Hoffman. He's no longer Team Tiffany or Team Bowie State.
Forever Team Tiffany and forever a Bulldog. Just not my subheading.
We got Chris, the future Mrs. Jasmine Crockett. Oh, CC what's here this tonight.
Wait, Mr. You said Mrs. I'm a Mr.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
My pronouns are he, him, and that. Never mind. Anyway.
And we got Cameron Shot, who's homecoming G. What does that mean?
It's homecoming, baby.
What does a G mean, though?
I'm a homecoming G. I'm coming home to the G. The G is me. And I am
that story you told us last week. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, what story?
About your homecoming situationship you had.
Oh, that was years ago. That was years ago.
He's a changed man.
I'm a changed man, and I've been forgiven.
He's reformed.
I am a reformed man. Anyway,
have a carry on. I will. We have a packed show tonight. We're gonna get into these Week 8 football games. Conference championship berths could be decided on Saturday or close to being decided on Saturday. We're gonna give out midterm grades to some Black college football teams in Division 1 and Division 2. So be prepared for that. And we're gonna have a pretty, I think, will be entertaining discussion on our off-topic, non-sports topic tonight. So stay tuned for that. But first, we're gonna start, and we would be remiss if we didn't start the show off with this. Peggy Davis, athletic director for Virginia State University, she passed away today. The school announced. Peggy Davis had been a longtime AD for Virginia State University. Prior to that, she was a successful basketball coach for 12 years. She was named CIAA Coach of the Year years ago. So she had made a double mark on university and inside the CIAA. She oversaw on the business side $84 million renovation of Virginia State's multipurpose center, turf installation of the Rogers Stadium, where the lacrosse team and football team both play, and also in the classroom, she was part of helping that university's athletic department turn around there and get student athletes to high achievers in the classroom. So she will be missed. All condolences out to the people of Virginia State, to her family and everyone associated with her. Fellas, any thoughts on this untimely news we got today?
It's interesting because, of course, if you guys are not, if anybody's listening, not familiar, I had written a story earlier this summer regarding some controversies within the Virginia State women's lacrosse program. And unfortunately, Ms. AD Davis was a part, was a part of the ex-players' gripes. I did reach out to her. I never got a chance to talk to her because I was interested to hear her side of the story. But hopefully, it's not going to be a stain on her record because, she built that university's athletic program up. They have one of the best indoor facilities for an HBCU, regardless, not Division 1, Division 2, across the board. You can put their multi-purpose center up against their convocation center up against anybody in Division 1 at this point. And from an HBCU perspective, she got turf at Rogers Stadium, which has helped Virginia State football immensely over the years. So regardless of whatever, situations may or may not have been, it's clear that her tenure at Virginia State was one of transformative change, and she probably helped more people than what she was alleged to have heard. So she'll be missed, and it's just stunning to me because you never know. Here today, gone tomorrow. We see this all the time with people of different walks of life, different people, famous or not. So you see that bit of news coming across your screen. It's just like, wait, what happened? And then then you're not stuck on what happened. And you're just like, wow, that's another person that we've lost that was of magnitude, was of, status. And condolences to the Virginia State family and AD Davis's family as well.
Yeah, for sure. That one. Yeah, tough news for the university, and obviously tough news for Peggy Davis's family and people who were close to her. But I echo Chris's sentiments and sending out well wishes to everybody associated with her in this university on that front. Always tough to transition from something like that, but we will do our best. It's week 8 this weekend. You got some really important football games coming up. Like I said before in the opening, that will decide a lot in a lot of conference races and a lot of division races. And from week 8, we got a pretty full and exciting slate. Clark Atlanta will be playing against Miles. Howard and Tennessee State will be playing on Saturday in DC for Howard's homecoming. That's going to be a really big ball game that could determine the fate postseason wise for both football teams in that one. And probably the biggest game of the day, aside from that one, will be Florida A&M and Jackson State. That's going to be played not at the Orange Blossom Classic this year, as we all know, but it's going to be played at Jackson State. This will all likelihood decide the SWAC East in that one. Then we have Winston-Salem State against Livingstone in the CIAA tilt, and then another SWAC matchup that will likely go a long way in determining who has the upper hand in the SWAC West. Alcorn State, who's undefeated in the SWAC West so far, they'll be playing against Southern, who saved their season last weekend against Southern. They got a big chance against the Braves. So, Jared Hoffman, you put together these 5 games we should all watch. These are all great games to watch. Which games to you stand out?
Well, just to talk about each game and why they're on this list, obviously Clark Atlanta and Miles is plain and simple. It's for first place in the SIAC. Miles beat Albany State to take control of first place in the conference for the time being. Clark Atlanta, their loss against Central State, knocked them out of first place, and put Miles in position to be able to gain first place with their win over Albany State. So they're trying to get back into position. Clark Atlanta, their high-powered offense led by star quarterback David Wright, going up against a juggernaut Miles defense that lit up Albany State at the line of scrimmage for 6 sacks. So Clark Atlanta is going to have to contend with them. And then you got Howard and Tennessee State, 2 of the most recognized names in HBCU lore, meeting up for a historic matchup. The first time they have played against each other since 2001. Howard looking to keep the result from that 2001 game from happening this time around. They were shut out 45-0 last time. They're a much better team than they were in 2001, with Jarrett Hunter and Eden James, the running back duo, Casey Hawthorne, their wide receiver. But they're going against a Tennessee State team that is firing all cylinders right now. They've won their last 3, and they're trying to make a push for an OVC title. It's going to be the first time they've been in serious competition for that conference title in probably well over 10 years. So exciting matchup in that one. And then we got, of course, what many people will say is the game of the weekend in Florida A&M and Jackson State, which could decide the SWAC East. Florida A&M, I believe they had the week off last weekend. Both teams actually had the week off last weekend. So haven't seen much of Florida A&M. Obviously the game against Alabama A&M had to be rescheduled due to weather. And in Jackson State, they've had a great turnaround this year after last year. Not that last year was a bad year, but they're continuing it to build the momentum under TC Taylor. So it's going to be a test for Daniel Richardson against that Jackson State secondary. We'll see how he's able to deal with them. If he's able to have a much better start than he and the Rattlers have been getting off to in the season so far. And then we got Winston-Salem State and Livingstone, both of these teams trying to keep themselves their heads above water in the CIAA championship race. They both got wins over Shaw and Fayetteville State respectively. Livingstone beat Fayetteville State. Their defense played the best game they possibly could, taking advantage of a Fayetteville State team that played the worst game that they could possibly could. Got 4 interceptions Fayetteville State, including Jalen Reeder, who got the pick 6 and the interception that sealed the win for Livingstone. So they're looking to wreak havoc on Winston-Salem State, who had an equally impressive performance against Shaw. Their running back Trayvon Hester, I believe.
Yes, Trayvon.
Okay, cool. Trayvon Hester, who had a big game against Shaw, 185 rushing yards, had a big 70-yard rushing touchdown. So he's gonna they're going to be looking to replicate that performance and keep themselves in the race, trailing behind Virginia Union and Johnson C. Smith, who are both still undefeated in conference competition. And then last but not least, Alcorn State and Southern. Alcorn State has a commanding lead in the SWAC West. They are currently 3-0 in conference play. They're going up against a Southern team who, by the hair on their chinny chin, they escaped Texas Southern thanks to some boneheaded special teams play, but they got out of there and they still are in the mix for the SWAC West, but they're going against the Alcorn State team, who is, I guess you could say, grown up before our eyes. They had that the stretch early in the season. Granted, it was against FBS opponents, but that McNeese State loss was not one that they won on their resume, but they have gotten it together as they have entered SWAC play. And they're trying to keep it going against Southern and try to take a commanding 4-0 conference record lead. And basically trying to clinch their first SWAC West title since joining the division in 2021. So if you ask me what the game I'm most excited about, for me, it's Clark Atlanta Miles, because I think Miles showed me something in that performance against Albany State. Like I said, they dominated the line of scrimmage, and David Wright is going to have to contend with them all game. All 60 minutes, he is going to have to contend with that defensive line, that pass rush. So we'll see how Teddy Keaton, he and those receivers are going to be able to contain that Miles defense, and if they're going to be able to have another big performance like we're used to seeing them have.
I think you're on mute, Kendrick.
Gosh, dog, Kendrick.
I went a whole 2 weeks without being on mute. Dang.
Yeah, we got to have a chart that said days since Kendrick talked on mute.
0. We're back at 0.
Yeah, as I was saying, Chris, a lot of good games to choose from. You made picks for all these games this week. Which one stand out to you?
This is the time where we find out if Clark Atlanta is the real deal. This is the chance for them to prove that this 5-1-1 start, the best start they've had in generations, is no fluke. And I get it. Winning football games is hard no matter what level you're at. And this is from a team that hadn't won a game in almost 2 years coming into this season, but they've won 5 already. Now you come up against a Miles team that absolutely punished the preseason SIAC favorite last week in Albany State. Like, Albany State just looked like they were, in the corner, just keeping from getting hit square in the face, but still getting body blows that was just like dropping them anyway. So this Miles team, they have a pair of defensive ends, Jermichael Rogers and Rock Dowdell. Just don't ask Jaguar Wright about anybody named Rock at this point in time. But those two defensive ends are incredibly fast, incredibly quick. They get to the quarterback. They both have 4 sacks apiece. So those left and right tackles are going to have to be on their P's and Q's for Clark Atlanta, or Mr. Wright is going to find himself running for his life all day long. So, but Clark, this is the game they wanted. They have it on their turf. Vic and back being booed, and Pyro Panthers is going to be out there. It's going to be an exciting game. We are going to see what Clark Atlanta is made of. And but Miles right now to me looks like head and shoulders above everybody else in the SIAC. And the Division I game, I'll pick a Division I game just for the sake of picking the Division I game. I think this is the time that Howard can get themselves ready for conference play, because they're going to see a lot of what Tennessee State does when they get to Morgan, when they get to South Carolina State, when they get to Norfolk State, when they get to Howard. I mean, now when they get to Central, I don't know what they're going to see when they get to Delaware State. God bless my Hornets, man. We got to pull some things together. We got guys hurt. We got guys. I mean, we literally have like a walking mass unit at this point over there at Dover. So shouts out to Coach Hall doing his best with what he's got. But Tennessee State is no slouch, man. 5-2. They've won, I think, 4 in a row. And they've done so convincingly. I mean, they just beat the tar off of Eastern Illinois this past weekend like they were supposed to. I said the previous week, if this Tennessee State team was going to be anything sort of a contender, they could not play with their food. We'll never forget that Doc Rivers said something else. But yes, they couldn't play with their food. And they absolutely put Eastern Illinois to sleep like they were supposed to. So now they go to Howard. They go for that 100th homecoming. There's rumors that a person that we may be talking about later in the show might be making an appearance at that homecoming. So the pageantry and the pomp and circumstance is going to be an all-time high. So both of these teams are going to have to be focused. But that Howard Tennessee State game is going to be probably the one Division I to watch for me.
Okay. Kim Rashad, I don't see any Grambling games up here. I'll just talk anyway. So which one of these great matchups you have your eye on this weekend?
Well, while everybody will be focusing on Howard and Tennessee State, for obvious reasons, it's Howard's homecoming, and I can certainly appreciate the matchup between Clark Atlanta and Miles. And Winston-Salem State and Livingstone provides a certain level of intrigue, and I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about neither one of those teams, but okay, that's fine too. And then FAMU and Jackson State, that basically could very well be the game that determines the SWAC East champion. But I would just simply say this about the Alcorn State versus Southern game. To my friends in Baton Rouge, if you want to make the Bayou Classic great again, you know what you need to do. And I will just simply leave it at that.
Lord have mercy.
I will just simply leave it at that.
You talk you work for a pack or something. Like, who donate money to, man? It's not like you work for a pack.
Well, it's not a pack. I'm just simply saying,
if you want to make the
Bayou Classic great again, you know what to do.
Invest in crypto. I'm just going to talk about that later, though. But no.
I will be watching the Alabama State Southern game. Now, granted, it's Gramblin's homecoming this weekend as well, but believe me, I will be monitoring the results of the the Alcorn State and Southern game with great interest. Great interest.
Yeah, for me, and I take my Jackson State hat off. I'm wearing a Bears hat, so I can be neutral. Jackson State, Florida A&M. That's a game we'll be watching closely on Saturday. We all went to the season thinking FAMU would be the division champs, and so far this season, they haven't played that way.
Who hasn't played that way?
Florida A&M.
Oh, okay.
They hadn't played that way. They hadn't been dominant the entire season. At least I thought, like, coming into last week's Alabama State, they're having a little bit of time off. They're getting healed up. They'll play the best game they played all season. But as Doc Rivers said, they were playing with their food for most of that game against Alabama State. Alabama State hung around till late in the fourth quarter before FAMU kind of pulled away at the end there. I thought, considering the Alabama State quarterback situation, that game wouldn't be close, but it was. And let me face the Jackson State team that leads the SWAC in points per game. Number one, Jacobian Morgan has really ignited that offense as we all thought he would come into the season. They run the ball tremendously well. They're a top 4 rushing team in the SWAC, averaging almost 200 yards a game on the ground. Their defense is number 2 in the SWAC, only behind Alabama State. So this game is played in Jackson, and for my money, I'm picking the Tigers. Obviously, I'm an alum because you're looking at the numbers and look at how both teams have played throughout this season. I think Jackson State wins this one. I don't know by how much, how it's going to look, but I just think right now they're the better team because FAMU really hasn't played championship caliber football all season long. They won games, granted, but they had to come from behind against some weaker opponents to do so. And Jackson State's going to be the best team they play, and it's going to be a road game for them.
But
so they can't afford to fall behind, and think they're going to win this one.
But to that point, though, and I say this respectfully to FAMU, I mean, granted, the wins have been somewhat ugly, but don't you at least give them credit for being able to find the wherewithal to actually come from behind to win those games?
I mean, you do,
there's
but you
something
don't
to
want
be
to.
said for that, right?
Yeah, there is, but you don't want to keep living like that, though. If you think you the best team in the country, black us football wise, and they're ranked in FCS polls, Georgia State, you have to like show it. You have to like assert your will against opponents. They haven't really done it very much this season. They had to do it in the second half, coming back to do so, but playing against a team like Georgia State that has a great offense and a really good defense, they won't be able to do that again, I don't think. If they do, hats off to them, but I don't think this the week they can afford to fall behind again like they did before in previous weeks and try to win.
I'm gonna disagree with that just because I feel like that
Of
was their
course you
MO
will.
all last season. I think that was their MO all last season because you look at the game last year against Jackson State. Granted, this is a much different team than it was last year, but you look at the game against Jackson State last year. They got out to that hot start, but they started to slow down in the back end of the game, but then they finished it off. You look at all the games throughout the regular season where they got off the slow starts, but they got that big stop down the stretch and they came back and won. You look at the Celebration Bowl against Howard. They got off to a slow start against Howard, fell down double digits against that in that game, came back and won that one. Got some big defensive stops down the stretch to close that game out. So I just feel like that's been their MO. Now, could the circumstances be different this time around? Well, I think we'll just have to see. But I think in general, they don't want to get off the slow starts, but they have shown to be a team that can overcome slow starts or sluggish moments in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely shown they can do that, but like at a certain point, you won't be able to overcome these slow starts if the other team you playing is equal in talent to you or is better than you. And the reason I think why FAMU won last year, had a great head coach in Willie Simmons, but more so than that, they had depth and they had more talent than everybody else. That's why they were able to win those games. And they had more talent, obviously, in Norfolk State this season and Alabama State because their quarterback situation wasn't what it was. But Jackson State is on par with them. And
yeah, but
talent-wise,
South Carolina State was no slouch either, though, Kendrick.
Yeah, they were but they got the first-year coach though, who had Division II players on their team, and they should have lost that game too at home. So I'm not trying to hate on Florida A&M. I think they're a great team in their own right, but they've been living on the edge this whole season, and they hadn't paid for it yet. If they do it again, they might pay for it on Saturday.
Okay. I feel like this is the one team that could make them pay for it because Norfolk State, we knew that there was a talent gap. South Carolina State, that was a whole new team that Chennisberry brought in, and we need to probably start talking about South Carolina State as the one team. I know that we had some we were talking about what FCS HBCUs could make the playoffs, and that list seemed very scant. But the way South Carolina State is playing, it would not surprise me that if they finish 8-3, that they get a playoff spot. So, but yeah, South Carolina State, they were still finding out who they were as a team, but apparently they have picked it up now. Alabama State's quarterback situation is still up in the air. Bethune-Cookman, I mean, no, they haven't played Bethune-Cookman yet. I'm sorry, Florida A&M did not play Bethune-Cookman. Who did they play? No, those are their 3 wins. Those are their 3 wins. Yeah. I forgot they were supposed to play Alabama A&M, and then of course the Storm came.
Right.
So their 3 wins haven't exactly been of a high quality, but the fact of the matter is they're the ones that count. So Jackson State is a very talented ball club, and as much as I want to pick Jackson State, I did. Spoiler alert: if you haven't seen the picks yet, you can go to hbcusports.com and see every game that I picked this week. But I did pick Florida A&M 30-27 because I just feel like there's something about whatever this current era of Florida A&M football is. There's just some sort of like, if you're an old school NBA fan, you remember the Boston Celtics fans used to have this thing called the Celtic mystique. There's a Florida A&M mystique right about now about this team. There's just something mythical, mystiological, and just absolutely unexplainable about how this team just comes up with the right play at the right time. And I just don't know if it stops this week. I mean, I could be wrong, but I did pick Florida A&M by 3 points. I think it'll be a great game, though.
I will say this, though. The Vet is not the Boston Garden, and there are no leprechauns around. So I don't know if there's the mystique you're talking about.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so speaking of some of these teams on this list, We're going to give out midterm grades since we're at the halfway point of the HBCU football season, and each one of us has pick some schools that we're going to give some grades to, and we're going to have a much larger story where we're going to give out grades to every team and every conference, but we're going to reduce it to just a handful for now. And so I'm gonna go around our illustrious panel here and get some takes about these grades, starting with Jared Hoffman, who has a robust list of teams he wants to give grades to. So Jared, take it away. Why do you give the grades you gave?
Well, we'll go from top to bottom, and I'm trying to see all the grades that I gave, but gave Alabama State a C plus. I mean, look, it's not what we thought that Alabama State was going to be. It's not what I thought that Alabama State was going to be. I as much as bad as it's not as good as not good as the offense has been. I thought the defense was going to be so much better, and it has just not been. It could be. Well, hold on, I just saw Professor Hoffman. That's funny. But anyway, yeah, I think that the defense hasn't been able to overcome the struggles of the offense, and they're in flux right now. And this is easily the least impressive season since Eddie Robinson Jr. has taken over as head coach. But this is kind of a down year for them because of all the injuries that they're going through, the quarterback situation that they have. So we'll see how they bounce back in years to come, and hopefully they're able to retain much of their team from this year so that they're able to actually see the potential that they have with this roster. West Virginia State, this is not a team that we talk about much, but that is a team that could be on the verge of being Division II playoff bound. They're in that Mountain East Conference and are currently undefeated, only have one loss on the season so far. Their duo of running backs, Justin Pessoa, sorry if I pronounced this name wrong, and Joel Felder, those who will remember the HBCU Sports Awards, he was a nominee for the Offensive Player of the Year award. And he entered the transfer portal, but ultimately decided to return to West Virginia State, and that decision is paying dividends because he and Pessoa are having an incredible season for West Virginia State, one of the most high-powered offense in all of Division II football. Also with Isaiah Best at quarterback, that is a team to keep your eye on because they could potentially be in that Division II playoff, like I said. Clark Atlanta with an A-. If not for that Central State loss and the tie with Florida Memorial, I probably would have put them at an A+, but I put them at an A- just because, they've had some slip-ups over the past couple of weeks. They nearly lost last week to, I forget who they played, but
they beat Central State, but they lost to Savannah State.
Oh, I'm tripping. Sorry. Yeah, they lost to Savannah State and nearly lost to Central State. Gave up a big lead down the stretch, and also had a slip up against Fort Valley State in the season opener in what was an incredible performance, but they nearly allowed Fort Valley State back into that game after leading by 18. So I think that Clark Atlanta is a team that if we're grading them based on what they've been in years past and what they are now, they are A+++++++. But if we're talking about how the season has progressed, I would say that they're A- because they've had their fair share of slip-ups, and now they're behind the 8 ball in the SIAC championship race, but could put themselves right back into position of being in first place if they beat Miles. Howard, I gave them a C because I expected them to be a little bit better. I expected the dynamic between Jared Hunter and Eden James to be a little bit better than it has been this season. Obviously, the quarterback situation is much different. Quentin Williams is no longer there. And the quarterback that they have now has played well for them, but it's been sparse every once in a while, and the defense hasn't really been able to make its impact like it has been. Kenny Gallup is still a dynamic talent, and expect him to be on some NFL teams draft board. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what they look like come conference play, because I feel like they will be much better in conference play than they have been in out of conference. Morgan State, it's just so disappointing. It's so disappointing. I really want to see Damon Wilson and Morgan State can succeed beyond the fact that he had so many great years at Bowie State. You know, I just want to see this team succeed. You know, obviously deep in the guy that I call the best defensive coordinator in black and college football in general, Anton Sewell. I want that team to succeed, but it just looks like that offense is holding them back. And like I said, Lawrence Richardson and Eric Hunter, those guys are gone after this year. So you're not going to have the same team next year than you will have this year. You're going to have to, you know, find new guys that are able to shore up your defense, and you're still going to have to rebuild your offense. You know, so this is a year down the drain for them. Thanks again to that offense who is not able to match the energy of that defense, and it's so disappointing. You know, so it's to the point where I'm not even optimistic about what they could look like come conference play. I could be wrong, but with South Carolina State, you know, showing the improvement that they have over the course of the season, with North Carolina Central still being the best team in that conference, in Howard, I still have Howard over them. You know, so they're looking at being fourth behind those three teams. But again, we'll see what they look like in conference play. Johnson C. Smith has arguably been the biggest surprise of the season outside of Clark Atlanta has. They're the second most surprising team, because although they had an improved season last year, I did not expect them to be this dominant this early. I knew that the Florida Beach Bowl was going to have its benefits for them. You know, playing in a postseason game, you know, can definitely do that to your confidence. But this offense with Quavarius Crouch, with Brevin Caldwell, and those guys are just playing out of their minds. Darius Ocean also, you know, just playing out of their minds, matching the energy of the defense. This is what I expected from Morgan State, to put together an offense that can match the energy of your defense, and they are doing that to perfection. And they are looking like the team that I said before the season started could make a CIAA championship appearance. You know, they still got a gauntlet to go, you know, the rest of the way, but I really like what I have seen from them, and I'm so proud to see them make the improvements that they had, and I look forward to watching them the rest of the way. And last but not least, Jackson State, an A-. You know, they, again, if you weigh their expectations, weigh them based on their expectations, it's probably an A+. But I go with an A- simply because, you know, they've had their they've had to sort of learn on the fly. You know, with the quarterback situation, Jacobian Morgan has, you know, improved week to week. The defense hasn't been as good as I thought that they were going to be. They're still very good, don't get me wrong, but the Grambling State loss kind of soured me on giving them an A flat. So I went with an A-. But those are my grades for the teams that I have selected. I know it's a lot, and it's going to be a lot less from everybody else, but yeah, here's what it is.
I say you were hard but fair. All right, up next, Professor Rashad. What are your midterm grades?
Well, Johnson C. Smith, you get a B. You have exceeded the expectations of many. You've managed to do not necessarily the impossible, but I don't think that anyone really expected. Well, no, I'm not going to say anyone expected, but you are cruising and doing what a football team should do with respect to what we've seen in previous years. So you get a B. Tennessee State. Now look, I didn't expect this. Granted, now we've given Tennessee State quite a bit of hell over the past several years for certain decisions that they've made and so forth. But you know what, Tennessee State, you get the golf clap. Very good. As a teacher would say, very good. Very good. I am so proud of you. North Carolina Central, I would have given you an A+, but you played Virginia University at Lynchburg. And I really came close to giving you a B+, but I'm like, okay, you won the game, but I mean, you kind of cheated, It just
That's exposure, not an A minus.
Well, I'm just saying. But no. Look, okay. North Carolina Central has done enough up to this point. Prior to the game against VUL, they're on solid ground. But that's just a demerit. It just, and then of course, Grambling, you get a C. And I would grade on the curve, but it's a solid C for the simple fact that if you just look at the Tigers right now, 3-3. And if you look at the last two games, the loss to Alcorn State by 2 points, and then prior to that, the loss to Prairie View by 2 points. Grambling is literally, I guess you can say, 6 points away from a 5-1 season as opposed to a 3-3 season. That's just how close we are between 3-3 and 5-1. 3 points would have given us a game over Alcorn State. 3 more points would have given us a game over Prairie View. So you get a C. Not that anyone expected this team to be a championship caliber team. All I'm just simply saying is this based upon what we've seen up to this point, special teams has been solid, defense has been decent, and offense has just been, man, first of all, get that graphic off the screen, and I'm talking here. Kerry Martin. You know what? I'm gonna stay focused. I'm not gonna get derailed. I'm not gonna get petty. But anyway.
Good job, Kerry. Keep going, man.
Anyway, so no, I give Grambling a C. You can say I grade with a curve, but there's still a lot of football to play. Man, who's your daddy? You know what? HBCU Overdrive? Hey, Doc, who's your daddy, baby? Who is your daddy? C minus. Anyway, that complete. Look, we've got a lot of football game. We've got a lot of football games to play. Okay, and all I would just simply say, Southern, if you want the Bayou Classic to be great again, you know what you got to do. All right, against Alcorn, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, up next, Chris.
All right. Professor Stevens now stepping in front of the class. And Florida A&M, I gave you a B+ because with all the shenaniganry that has gone on within your institution, you fired so many people, including your athletic director. You have had to suffer the indignity of having to answer questions about a $237 million donation from a plankton clone that was not a $237 million donation.
Here we go again. The plankton.
But yet and still, you have found a way to climb back to the top of the SWAC East, where you have resided for the better part of a full calendar year. And if you guys hadn't fallen behind against Alabama State, I probably would have given you an A. But that Alabama State game was inexcusable, honestly. That was a team that was in, turmoil with his quarterback situation. You guys should have put the foot on the throat, weren't able to do it. Still were able to win the game, so it counts. But this is where you get your extra credit this week when you go into Mississippi Veterans College Memorial Stadium, when you go see Jackson. B- for scam you. Lord have mercy. So we'll find out if you get some extra credit this week when you go on to Jackson State, but for now you get a B+. North Carolina Central, a flat A. Like Ken said, we had the dock points because you played the Washington Generals of HBCU football, Virginia University of Lynchburg, but overall you look like the best team in Black college football at any level. You have Walker Harris, who has stepped up as the trigger man that you needed to replace Davius Richard. Jamari Taylor has replaced Mookie Collier in the backfield. That cachet of receivers led by Joaquin Davis. This is a very talented football team. You have Cole Jones in the field at safety. This is the team that looks like the HBCU national champs for 2024. Yes, we still got a lot of football left to play. And of course, we had Central ticketed for the Celebration Bowl last year. Then they went to Green Stadium and then got put under the turf of Green Stadium. Don't think that happens this year, though. So North Carolina Central, you get in that. Tennessee State, much like Professor Rashad said, this has been a surprising season. We really were starting to wonder if the Eddie George experiment was going to work, but lo and behold, they look like a football team that is finally starting to hit its stride on all three phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. They have a big test this week against Howard. Now, if they can win this game, that makes them 6-2. So that would equal the amount of wins they had all of last season. And then their last 3 OVC games, they can win 2 of those 3. They go 8-3. They're absolutely making the FCS playoffs. So, and they may get a home game depending on how the bracket shakes out. So, Eddie George, you might just have to go ahead and start, getting an order of wings and beer ready, because you guys might be hosting a playoff game this year. That's how good Tennessee State has been. So Tennessee State, you get in that. Alcorn State it's Alcorn.
It's Alcorn.
Alcorn,
They're serious about that. It's Alcorn, not Alcorn. Alcorn.
Yeah, people have been serious about. I've been chewed out about Albany and Alcorn. I'm from the Northeast, man. It's how we say stuff. But Albany State, Alcorn State, you get a B, because through the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, you would have got an F, because y'all were terrible. It took for your coach to pull you guys together for a group project and say, we're gonna get this group project right, and y'all need to grow up. So you took down Mississippi Valley State, which is what you were supposed to do. You also beat Arkansas Pine Bluff, which is a rising team. I mean, they still got some ways to go, but they're better than they've been in past years. But you beat them, so you're 2-0 in the division, and now you get to outdo Southern for first place in the SWAC West. But as a Professor Rashad said, Southern is going to try to make the Bayou Classic great again. So you guys are going to have your hands full. So you guys got some work to do. So Alcorn State, you get a B.
All right. So I think some fair grades. I'll go this time. Mine is a little inclusive of like everybody. Ram Nation, you watching? I hope you watching tonight, man, because I got y'all up on here. Y'all get a B. It would have been an A if y'all had been able to hold on to that lead late in the fourth quarter against North Carolina A&T and prove y'all the best team on Tobacco Road, but couldn't do that. Plus, y'all lost to John C. Smith too, so that kind of hurts too. But a solid B nonetheless. NC Central, I give them an A. Unlike Florida A&M, they played the dominant football we expect from a program that's expected to be championship caliber, and they played that way all season long. And I don't think they're not going to play that way the rest of the way. Now, South Carolina State might give them a little scare, but I think Central is clearly far and away the best team, not only in MEAC, but in Black college football. Jackson State, I give them a B+, only because they lost to Grambling, and for the fact that they didn't play the second half of their last football games, Alabama A&M, very well. I was concerned about the effort on defense. They had a big lead and almost lost it, but they were able to hold on for that win. Otherwise, I probably would have got an A-. But I think the Tigers, as I said previously, they're going to beat FAMU, and they're going to lead the SWAC East and possibly win the SWAC East later on the season. And JCSU, school down the street from where I live, they get an A because they, despite the fact people talking about their schedule, how soft it is, they can't control that. They played everybody on their schedule, and they played them well. They won every game. And I don't know, just based on the way they played against teams like Salem State, teams like Virginia Union, how can you not say this is the best team in the CIAA, and quite frankly, probably the top Black college football team at all Division II level at this point of the season. So those are my grades. I hope I was fair to everybody. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. So I think everybody overall, they did a pretty good job, on grading. No curves were used. Everybody was fair with their grades. So I'm happy that we're able to do that.
I'm tripping off some of these comments.
Shouts out to Ellis Connor.
Yeah, Ellis Connor says JCSU has dominated the SIAC and defeated preseason number 1, number 2 CA teams. You give them a B. Ken, sir, professor, I'm glad you didn't have you as a professor. I know, Ellis. Tell him, Ken, man.
Yeah,
tell him
you
again.
gave him a B.
You
gave
did.
him a B, man. You gave him a B.
See,
hold on, man. Let me see something.
No, I know. You gave him a B.
I kind of wanted to. I didn't want to say
Hold
anything
up, hold
when
up.
I
I'm
saw
looking.
that, but I
Hold up. Let me see something. I'm looking in the notes when I sent that. Who are we talking about again?
Johnson C.
Johnson
Smith.
I gave them an A. Kendrick,
Give him
you
an A.
yeah, go look. You know
Oh
what?
yeah, he did. He did. I just checked the
See?
chat. He gave him an
See?
A.
Ooh.
See?
Now,
I gave him an A.
we're gonna have to have a faculty meeting.
You rolled with it though. You definitely rolled with it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you sound like you gave him a B.
Ellis, I gave him an A. Now,
I can attest that he did say when we asked for grades, he did give him an A. I can attest.
now, you know what? Now, this is just not right. Now, that's just not right. Now, y'all know that came from a good place. That's just not right.
Once again, you can't call somebody country in a derogatory way and say it's from a good place.
That reminds me of one of the funniest stories ever in my time as a journalist, if I may, really, really quickly. So, when Todd Bozeman was coaching the Morgan State men's basketball team many, many years ago, and they had a visit to Longwood, which was, of course, where Jerome Kersey, the late great Jerome Kersey, the Portland Trailblazers, played in college. So, there was a sandwich shop that the Morgan State basketball team stopped at to refuel on their way back to Baltimore. So this sandwich shop gives Coach Bozeman and his staff all kinds of hell. So this man apparently yells out. I mean, he's ready to square up. As a matter of fact, the entire team is apparently ready to square up. This is what the story has been relayed to me. So they're getting asked to leave, and they're all just, retreating to the bus, and Bozeman yells out to you, "I ain't scared of you country bumpkins." So that is one of the greatest stories I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, this was secondhand, I heard it from different sources, but yeah, apparently Coach Bozeman was fed up with the folks in at Longwood of Virginia. So that's why, the country thing just, came to mind real quick. I just had to share that story with y'all.
By the way, this too is cold-blooded. This is just cold-blooded.
So you're saying if Miles played against Grambling?
Oh no!
Miles would win?
Oh no!
I'm just asking by transitive properties.
I'm just saying that as how's them how to go in the movie Shrek or Donkey? You cut me deep, Shrek. That's cold-blooded. But okay, touche. I'll take it. I hear you. What's next?
Our last topic, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's our last topic for the night,
Right.
and
This
it's
is Wednesday.
It's
You know?
Wednesday, so
You guys know this is Wednesday, so we tend to use our final segment to tend to kind of go outside of the typical HBCU sports landscape, and we tend to talk about maybe current events that impact us all, or we may have a very silly subject such as how we'd like to cook our steaks and so forth. But given where we are right now in the political season, with the elections just right around the corner, we're going to talk about this thing here. And Kendrick, this is your baby, so I'll let you continue. My bad. I just wanted to set people up who may not aware of what we do on this show every Wednesday.
that's cool. Yeah, so the off topic tonight is this gentleman right here, former President Barack Obama. Recently he appeared in Pittsburgh at a campaign headquarters for the Harris-Walsh campaign, and he expressed how he was disappointed to hear that a lot of Black men were not exactly enthusiastic about supporting current Vice President Kamala Harris in her bid for the White House. And the former president expressed himself with these comments right here.
And excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time.
Yeah, so that's former President Barack Obama calling out all the brothers because he was upset that they weren't getting behind Kamala Harris for president. And Kamala Harris was asked yesterday on the town hall hosted by Charlamagne the God, Breakfast Club fame. And I can't laughing, man.
No, I'm laughing because Chris rolled his eyes. That's what I was saying.
Oh yeah, he's not too cool with Charlamagne the God, but like Charlamagne
You'll find out why in a minute.
asked him, asked Kamala Harris, what's up with Obama calling out the guys? Like, when are y'all gonna call out, these other groups who don't support you in large numbers either? So this is that exchange right here. Yeah, so those were the vice president's comments on the matter. I know Chris is like a bull in the bullpen, man. He's ready to tear into this topic right here. So I'm gonna let him go first. It gets reactions to not only the online conversation surrounding this particular issue, but what Obama said and what Kamala Harris said as well. Go for it, Chris.
Hey, Chris, before you start, let me just say this, guys. For those of you who are watching, man, take the time and engage with us. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this particular conversation. Also, take a moment and subscribe to the channel and make sure that you also join and become a member, level 1, level 2, and level 3 supporter by joining and just support the channel, man. But we're doing what we can to continue to provide you with great content, and we just ask that you continue to support the channel. But most importantly, feel free to engage in what we're about to discuss here, because this is very, very important. So with that said, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Accountability, responsibility. Those are two words that seem to be lost on a scant few in this generation. When people, I've seen this on Twitter for the last 5 business days, and it is grinding my gears to no end that President Obama was scolding and finger wagging and lecturing. Do y'all not see what is going on here? Do you not see what is at stake? That is what I'm asking y'all. I want you to think about it. Do you not understand? Like, you want to hold Kamala Harris accountable for false information, misinformation about her time as Attorney General in California. People said she locked brothers up for weed when the actual program that she was in charge of was sexual offenses. So if y'all yelling about free my boy and your boy is on here touching on little kids, then what does that say about you? You want to hold Kamala Harris accountable for whatever deficiencies you think Joe Biden may have as president, but he has not had a full House of Representatives. He has not had a full. He has not had a Senate majority. He had a Senate. I'll take it back. He did have a House of Representatives for a little while, but he hasn't had a Senate majority in his time as president. So we need to bring back Schoolhouse Rock, apparently, so everybody can understand how a bill gets passed. You have to start with Congress. Then you have to go to the Senate. Then those two legislative bodies have to pass that. And then if they both pass it, then Joe Biden can sign it into a law. That's how this works. And that's how Kamala Harris would work as president. And I find it very discouraging that this woman had to come out here and make a black plan for black dudes who are chronically online, just attacking women every chance they get. Like, the biggest thing on social media that I've seen this week is that, where is child support amnesty? And don't you dudes realize that it takes 2 to make kids? There are no Virgin Marys in this world. I mean, there was one Virgin Mary, and she carried that cross. What was it, 2,000-3,000 years ago? I don't know. I'm not a biblical scholar, but y'all know what I'm talking about. But this is embarrassing. This line of questioning for Kamala Harris, when you guys know that her opponent is a racist, a Nazi, a fascist who has said that police officers will be able to act with immunity and impunity. That means that all four of us brothers, it don't matter. I mean, Kim Rashad could be walking down the street in Dallas, Texas. Kendrick Marshall could be walking down the street in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jared Hoffman could be walking down the street in PG County, Maryland. Chris Stevens could be walking down the street in Wilmington, Delaware. Some cop feels like we fit the description, and because we are black, we more often than not fit the description. They can start beating the crap out of us, and we can't sue them or press charges against them for nothing because the president of the United States said, oh, it's okay to rough them up a little bit. That's what you guys are absolutely saying is okay when you start complaining about Kamala Harris is this, she's that, she's not all black, she's got a white husband. Aren't you the same brothers that call yourself milkmen? Aren't you the same dudes that, idolize passport bros who go to these other countries to meet women who absolutely are not interested in you dudes, but you force yourselves on them anyway? Aren't you the same dudes who literally just have negative words for every single black woman in any single space in your lives, which is embarrassing because we all four of us on this panel came from a black woman. All four, well, Ken and Kendrick are the lucky ones that are married. They've partnered with black women. I'm sure Jared would like to do so, and I would like to do so. I mean, we're gonna get there. Change is gonna come to America. But
Jasmine Crockett, you watching? That's your guy right there.
Oh, shout out to Chris McCoy in the chat. Hey, brother, we might have to go. Play some one-on-one one of these days. Go get some shots. Our first 1 to 10 gets Jasmine Crockett's hand in marriage. But yes. Back to the point. This is embarrassing. This is absolutely embarrassing. This is a point in the world history. Forget American history, the world history. Because if you don't think that Trump's mouth is going to get us in wars that we're not well equipped to fight, and when they bring back the draft, they're not drafting Timmy, they're not drafting Bryson, they're not drafting Jim Bob, they're drafting Jaleel, they're drafting Malik, they're drafting Marcus, they're drafting Taiwan. They're sending our kids over there to die. They're not sending the well-to-do white kids over there to die. So I want y'all to be really smart and use your common. I mean, I hate to quote that dude because he's right where he belongs in jail, R. Kelly, but use your common sense, please. There is nothing about Donald Trump that whatever cult-like following he has that black people need to follow. Kamala Harris is trying to save this country from itself. And if you brothers can't get your heads out of your behinds and stop this woman-hating foolishness, y'all are following the words of a dude who died with a Latina woman in his lap. You dudes are following this Kevin Samuels dude from, like he was Marcus Garvey with the YouTube channel. And it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, just please stop being stupid. The fate of the world depends on it. And I'm done.
Just a big campaign slogan. Stop being stupid. I can agree with that. Kim Rashad, you're the elder statesman of the group. You voted in many elections, seen many politicians. You live in Texas where it's not blue. Your thoughts on this?
Man, I'm gonna just keep this simple. You guys have heard me say this before, man. And I'm dead serious on this. Let me start by saying this. For the life of me, I don't understand how some of these brothers can call themselves being offended by what Barack Obama said about them.
Thank you.
How dare you have? And then and then on top of that, you got cats out here. Stephen A. Smith was one of them recently. I think he had some kind of opinion in which basically he too was pushing back on what Barack Obama was saying. And when the fact of the matter is, and I think the larger part of his argument was that, many brothers who may not necessarily feel the need to vote for Kamala Harris may not necessarily be doing so because their so-called view may be because they have a fundamental disagreement with her with respect to policy. I think the larger point Barack Obama was saying is that may be fine, and Stephen A. Stephen A. Smith's point was it wasn't about misogyny, and that it may very well be just a philosophical disagreement. Which, okay, I get, that's fine. But to Barack Obama's larger point was, despite all of that, how could you possibly find justification in voting for a man who has shown you, told you who he is and what he's going to do about you, to you, and yet you think it's okay because of some, excuse the expression, bullshit philosophical disagreement or problem that you got with Kamala Harris? That's the point in all of this. Exactly right. You were so, great point, Stephen Campbell. You guys were so pissed off or bothered by the fact that Barack Obama took the time to say something. You didn't even really hear what he was trying to tell you. And that's part of the problem where, you know, I just put it like this. Me and Chris talked about this earlier. It's unfortunate that Kamala Harris has to go to places like the Shade Room and to Charlemagne the God. You know why? You know why? Because some of you are too fucking dumb to know better.
Hello.
Excuse the expression. I hate that, but this is really serious here because I don't think some of you really understand just how important this election is and where we are right now. Some of you brothers are too damn ignorant. You know, you know all of the BS that's going on social media. And some of you try to impress us with your intelligent ignorance about politics, and it becomes obvious when you speak. You don't know a goddamn thing. That's what makes this so difficult. And it's unfortunate that Kamala Harris has to go to the Shade Room. Now, I understand, you know, put it like this. There's a difference between youngsters. You know, some of us have to kind of come into our own, but I'm talking about grown ass brothers. I'm about to say something else. My age, who I have had conversations with, who show you and display they have no clue about this process, asking BS questions. Well, what have the Democrats done for us? They're taking our votes for granted, and we're just gonna give them their. What have they done for us? Well, damn it, what have the Republicans done for you? What have they displayed for you? And I'm not necessarily saying that you have to vote. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm not. But at some point, damn it, common sense has to come into play. And I'm gonna just send it to, and I've told you guys this, and I'm gonna end it by saying this. Because of where we are right now, with the options that we have, whether it be Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, I'm telling you now, policy doesn't mean crap to me at this point. I simply don't want Donald Trump to be my damn president. I don't care what the damn policy is. He's shown me enough to know I don't want that asshole in my damn in the damn White House representing me. Period. Forget the pot. This is, you know what? This is one of those times when you really don't really necessarily need to focus on the policy. All you got to do is just look at the man. Just look at him. It's a stark difference between the two. You want your president to be smart. You want your president to have a clue. There is no such thing as a perfect candidate. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't agree with every single thing Kamala Harris says or her policy. I don't. But I know damn well I don't want Donald Trump to be my president. I've seen enough of him. Do you really want a man in the White House who tells you he likes to grab women by the pussy? He said that. And some of you think that's okay. Or at the very least, you just ignore it because of some BS, philosophical BS that you have against Kamala Harris, whether it be policy or not. I'm done.
Yeah, Ken, all good.
Let's not forget that, Luis. We can trust Kamala Harris to not having continence issues also. Let's not forget that.
I just realized what you said. Exactly. So
Yeah, this is a guy who, when he was president during the eclipse, everybody was told, don't look in the sun with your naked eye. The first thing he did was look in the sun with naked eye.
It's so obvious
That's what I'm
that
saying.
this dude
I mean,
is not
look, man.
he's not fit to be chief pooper scooper of the Thanksgiving Day parade. No, he can't scoop the poop up after the horses. There's nothing about Donald Trump that has any redeeming quality. Nothing.
Yeah, like somebody on social media asked this question of like, why are black men attracted to Donald Trump in terms of like wanting to support him? And the only rational thing I could come up with was that Donald Trump represents what everybody has always promoted as what a powerful man should look like. Not like physically look like, but like he has this power, he's wealthy, he has influence, and a lot of men want to be like that. And so in a way, Donald Trump kind of represents that in all the ways Donald Trump does, whether you like it or not, but that's what he represents. And before he became president, we all know like Donald Trump was heavily supported by black rappers. We all know the crew who supported him, and those rappers have a window to our communities, and they are influential in our communities. So if they cool with Donald Trump, then everybody else gonna be cool with Donald Trump too. When he became president, I think the emperor kind of like lost his clothes in that when he kind of got to see like this dude is stupid, number one, and number two, doesn't know what the hell he's talking about half the time. And so like how could anybody support him? Like I don't understand it. Like I don't get it. Like there is no it says a whole lot more about the country than it really does Donald Trump. That with 3 weeks left from election, and it's a toss-up now in terms of like who's gonna win. If you look at polling, if you look at like talk to analysts who study this stuff, like they even said like any other candidate in any other year who was not Donald Trump would not even be remotely close to the White House, because we know he's been indicted, he's been arrested, his mugshot is out there. It's happened within the last 8 months of the year. And yet the race for president is a toss-up between an accomplished black woman who's done many great things for her people and a convicted felon. That speaks to the country and how racist it is, how sexist it is,
how stupid it is.
Yeah, it's very much stupid. Never underestimate the stupidity of the American people. I always say that.
Whew, yes.
And let me add this. Excuse
but
me.
Let me say one thing before you go, Jared.
Okay, cool.
But I'm gonna empathize with some African American men on this particular issue we're talking about what Obama said in that room in Pittsburgh last week. I do understand to some degree why there will be pushback against not what he said, but the decision for him to say it in the first place. Because the rebuttal to what he said is like, okay, like you're talking to black men, despite the fact that black people as a whole and a large percentage of black men do support the Democrats, and they do support Democrat candidates. And they also, black men in particular, they supported Hillary Clinton for president. So for Obama to say, well, they don't want to see a woman president, well, according to polling, extra polling, that's not true. Even when Stacey Abrams ran for governor of Georgia in 2022, 84% of black men voted for her. So to say that black men don't want to see black women in position of power is in politics is largely untrue. But what I do think that can be stated is that a lot of black men don't want to be lumped in with like everybody else. Like you're like us four here, and many of you listening, watching us, we're not running a situation where we're talking bad against Kamala Harris to be president. We're not saying she's not really black. We're not saying she's like a bunch of black men. But when that statement from the nation's first black president comes out talking to black men, all the headlines on the news and on the internet are going to say, President Obama chides black men. Not talking about certain black men, they're talking about all of us. And I think it's fair to say, hey, like, okay, you may be right in what you're saying, but like, what are you really telling the country about us as a gender and a race in particular by making those comments to us and not to the 50% or 60% of white men who support Trump, or all the white men who supported Trump, or Hispanics who support Trump? Because the Democrats, they have a built-in advantage, at least from black people, to have at least between 80 and 90% support. And to continually go out, as some may perceive it, to chide black people for not being 100% behind candidates or a party is, to a lot of black men, maybe counterproductive. They're like, okay, we've been supporting you for all this time. Like, it may not be 100%, it may not be 90%, it's 80%, but like, y'all getting on us because we're at 79% and not 90% like black women are. And I think from that standpoint, that may be a little bit unfair for President Obama and others to do that. But I will say largely, though, yeah, we cannot afford to have Donald Trump as president, no matter how we feel about what President Obama said in Pittsburgh, or what some of Kamala Harris's policies may or may not be that we may or may not agree with. But yeah, like, that's what I gotta say. It's a lot of nuance to this. And so I think, like, we should all be responsible enough as citizens and as voters to distinguish between a felon and someone who's not a felon for president. Gary, go ahead.
I think the biggest takeaway that we have seen since the 2016 election is, and I'm lumping everybody in, we as an American people are not well informed.
No.
What I mean by that is no one does their research. Everyone speaks without knowing what the hell they're talking about.
They do their own research, Jared.
Say that again?
They do their own research on YouTube University. That's where they get their research from.
Yeah, their own research is, trust me, bro. That's their research. Trust me. You know what I do if I don't know something? I ask a question or I look it up. I don't speak without knowing what I'm talking about. You know what that's called? Willful ignorance. That is willful ignorance. Knowing you don't know what you're talking about and speaking as if what you're saying is facts. What everybody keeps talking about the money that Trump gave to HBCUs. Because you saw an article on the internet and looked no further. You saw one article and didn't see any other articles that corroborated it. And none of y'all can tell me anything else that publication has talked about other than that one article that you keep referencing. But we want to fixate on stuff that don't matter, like what Kamala Harris's ethnicity is. Who cares?
Thank you.
Who cares? We want to fixate on her having a white husband. Who cares? Do you know how normalized interracial marriages are? Who cares? So because she's married to a white man, that means she don't love black people enough? And we're talking about a person who went to an HBCU and is a member of the Divine Nine.
Thank you.
But we want to go with the hot take that's going to get all the social media likes. We want to go with the hot take video that's going to get all the clicks. That's all we care about. We don't care about being well informed. We don't care about educating the youth about why it is important to know about the presidential candidates' policies. We don't want to educate people about local government. We don't want to educate people on state government. We don't want to educate people on national government. We don't want to educate people on what the Supreme Court is. We don't want to educate people on the jobs of the Senate, of the jobs of the House of Representatives. We don't want to educate people anymore. We just want to get the salacious clicks. That's all we want to do. We want to get our hot takes off. That's all we want to do. We want to get famous for no reason. Being famous has lost all its meaning because all it is people making the most outrageous video and it's spread across your timeline. That's all it is. You have no true impact on what is happening in the world. But when there's people who are actually trying to make an impact, We want to fixate on stuff like, oh, they're in an interracial marriage. How could I ever vote for them? Correct me if I'm wrong, but what was Donald Trump's political history before he became president in 2016? Did he serve on the House of Representatives? Was he in the Senate? Was that man even a governor? So what were his qualifications? Oh, but Kamala Harris is a woman, so she can't be president. And yeah, I'm so tired of people saying she ain't implement no policies as a vice president. Vice presidents don't implement policies.
Michael Strahan actually asked that question.
They don't?
Policies.
They don't?
Even me, as a novice of political knowledge, knows that the vice president does not implement policies. Stop saying that.
Someone said he wasn't even a dog catcher.
He wasn't even pooper scooper at the parade, according to Chris Stevens.
So it's like people keep speaking without knowing what they are talking about. People don't know what the duties of a president is, don't know what the duties of a vice president is, don't know what the Senate does, doesn't know what the House of Representatives of. They seen Schoolhouse of Rock, or whatever it is. What is it called?
Schoolhouse Rock.
Schoolhouse Rock. They saw that and didn't pay nan attention to it. All they saw was I'm just a Bill sitting on Capitol Hill and was like, "What's up, Bill?" And then kept moving. And they don't know what a bill is. They don't even know what a bill is.
Not no checks and balances, how Congress works, how the Senate works, nothing.
They don't know nothing about how any of that works. They don't know how the criminal justice system works. I know that's different from political, but they don't know anything about anything. They don't you don't understand that at the local level, it starts at the local level. You've never even voted at your local election. You couldn't tell me who your congressperson was. You couldn't even tell me the governor of your state. But you talking about this woman isn't fit to be president. Never mind the fact that she has a way more extensive history in politics than Trump does, and it's pinky. But common sense. I'm begging people to get some common sense. Common sense is if you don't know something, ask. The common sense is if you don't know something, look it up. And don't just look at one source and think that that's the truth. Because not every news organization is honest. I'm sorry, as a news person, I gotta say it. Not everybody is honest. There's people that have agendas. So you have to be cautious about the information that you are receiving. And then when you receive that information, you speak it as fact and not even fact checking it. This is a presidential candidate who said he didn't want fact checking for his speeches.
He sure did.
He doesn't want fact checking for debates. Why do you think that is? And his vice president said the same thing too. This is a man who, during the presidential debate, saying they're eating the dogs and had no proof. Oh, but it's funny. He's going to share it on social media. Come on, man. I'm begging people to have a mind of their own. Have a mind of your own. Do your own research. Ask your own questions. Do the things that a diligent person should do. Not like an idiot. That's it.
Yeah, I will say that, like you mentioned the presidential debate when you mentioned that the Haitians in Ohio were eating the dogs. And then David Muir was like, we talked to the city officials and they said it wasn't true. And Donald Trump goes, but I saw it on TV.
But that's who you want as president. Somebody who saw something on TV and said, oh, that's facts.
Yeah. Someone said that is true. Ms. Jackson, yeah. Now they said that they eat more than just dogs now. It's crazy, man. It is.
Yeah, like I registered to vote on Friday for North Carolina because they moved here. Had to change from Oklahoma to here. Thank God I'm out of Oklahoma because you want to talk about living in delusion. Oklahoma is that place where in 2008 and 2012, the entire state literally voted for the Republican candidate for president. Like all 100 counties voted for the Republican. Not one county, Oklahoma, voted for Barack Obama in 8 years. Yeah, so yeah, like if you can use your voice to vote, go ahead and do it, man, because every election is important. I ain't gonna say it's the most important of your life, but every one of them is important. If you think you voting for Donald Trump gonna help you solve any problems, I don't think so. Look at the courts, not just Supreme Court, but the lower courts too, because he appoints judges in your state to impact laws and impact the way that you are governed there too. So you might be thinking, well, like it won't affect me. Yes, it will. It will eventually come bite you in the butt, man. It definitely will, man. Yeah, I went to school in Mississippi, and I can tell you the same thing. Like that state's pretty red too, and it's not fun there either for Black people. Yeah, so a very lively discussion tonight. Great points all around on this topic and on other ones. Be sure to watch a lot of football this weekend. There are gonna be some great games all across the Black college football spectrum. And don't forget, support what we're doing, because we're gonna have all that covered over the weekend on our website and here on YouTube. Once again, support us even further, because Ken Rashad, has a lot of overhead to deal with. Dealing with
Lord, have mercy.
his large CEO salary. He's gotta take care of, as well as our meager earnings.
Anyway,
God.
for you folks on Twitter, and shout out to the folks on watching us on Twitter. Do us a favor, man. Go to the HBCU Sports channel on YouTube and bless us by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, okay? Because we like to take you and have you watch us over here on YouTube. If you really want to support us and you've been watching with us, all right, we appreciate it. Before we go, guys, donate. You can super chat, or you can also Zelle by making a donation at donate@hbcusports.com. You can also join and become a level 1, level 2, or level 3 supporter. So there are multiple ways, as well as even going to the website to the donation button and also making a donation as well. So guys, thank you. Thank all of you for watching us. Hope you enjoyed the show. He's Chris Stevens. He's Kendrick Marshall. He's Jared Hoffman. I'm Ken Rashad. We'll see you guys next time. God bless you. Enjoy your games this